The 98 TJ is bone stock, and with 380,000 miles, you can see they're discolored, they're corroded. It's time to change them. On the positive side, there's two conductors. One conductor loops down and comes back up and feeds the fuse panel that's normally got this cover on it. The other conductor sweeps down, goes into this loom, and down to the starter motor. That's where the other end of that wire goes. The other two conductors are the grounds. And they both follow that same loom. One goes and is a ground bolt on the battery head, and one comes up and grounds right here on the firewall on the body. So I'm going to pull both of these out and lay them on the table so I can start templating the replacements. A couple of notes: this bolt was on pretty tight, so just beware, you'll be twisting the body. You don't want to break this plastic. It would cost a fortune to replace these, and it's hard to find any TJ parts in a junkyard. So this alternator wire comes off, and this is the battery supply wire. Now, obviously that piece is not something that you can easily find. I'm using these terminals for all my battery ends. So all I did was put this one in a vise and put like some tool steel, like a punch or something in here, and bent it over, and this will sit like that, which you can see actually is a pretty good solution. So that will work fine. The bolt that holds this ground up onto the body is a 15 millimeter. I may have to open up this hole a little bit, just a skosh. The bolt that's on the exhaust manifold that is the other ground, the smaller ground, is a 1/2 inch. And then the one that holds this onto the starter motor is a 1/2 inch. And then one thing I failed to mention is that it appears that the exciter, or the trigger for the starter motor, is integrated into this starter motor wire. So you got two options. You can try to repin it. It is a spade connector, but it looks like some sort of a Chrysler Voodoo connection. So you can do one of two things. You can cut the connection off of the other side and do like a weather pack connector for both sides. Or if you want to leave it stock, which is what I'm going to do, if the wire's in good condition, you can actually cut this off of, like, just come along, imagine a line here, and just cut this off of the old wire, separating it and making its own standalone wire, and it's held on with this tiny little nut. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a box cutter. If I wanted to be faster, I could use a bandsaw, just run this through the bandsaw, but I figure most guys don't have a bandsaw, and I'm not in a particular rush, so I'll just do this the hard way. There you go. So now this is like its own isolated wire. You just go put this back on the car. I'll be right back. Now that we've got that done, basically you're looking at two wires for the power, one longer, one shorter, and two long wires for the ground. Now let me show you what we're going to replace this with. EWCS Electric Wire and Cable Specialist Premium Extra Flexible Welding Cable. I like this stuff. So it's oil resistant, it's temperature resistant, and it's flexible. It's advertised at 4 gauge, but the one I bought before was really closer to a 6 gauge. So I've got both 6 and 4 gauge terminals, so I can be flexible for that. You also need some 4:1 heat shrink. This is special heat shrink for these types of battery connections, and it shrinks a lot, so you don't have to put this on before you make your cables. You can put it on after. The way we're going to attach them is using these marine terminals, which bolt to the battery post and have a wing nut terminal pad on them. These are great because when you store the vehicle, you can just unbolt that wing nut and then just take your ground wire off. I tried using these things, these connectors, these quick disconnects. These really are not great. I've had a lot of electrical issues running that, so do not recommend those. Okay. So I got my new cables cut, and now it's time to assemble them. So I'm just going to create two new lugged ends here, and I'm using the, I believe I'm using the 4. That's what I was doing. I was taking this, and I was just going to twist this up, make sure this is the right size for this. Yep, and it is. I've got this, this is a Klein Tools crimper. It's got a non-insulated end and an insulated end. I hardly ever use the insulated one because there's better crimpers for that. But this size is just big enough where you can get in and put a nice crimp in it. If you go to the next size up, the 4 gauge, you can't do it. But this one, I'll show you up close here. This one does put a decent crimp in the end of it. So that with the solder should be fine. I'm gonna actually do 2. Okay. Now I got to do the same for the positive. So I'm going to try to follow the natural curve of this thing because this kind of pops up the side of that the fuse block. Somewhere a long time ago, I had a dedicated battery terminal cleaner. I have no idea where that is now. I do use these fuzzies though. I don't know if they do anything, but they make me feel like they do. So, marine terminal. Now these have a captive sort of nut on this side. I find that those things don't work that great. So I just hold it with a 1/2 inch. So this is going to go on first. Oh, I did not measure these ends. They don't fit over the terminal. I made that one probably a little too long. That's okay. Focus. This one goes down, up into the fuse block. This one goes to the starter motor lug down there. And these two, one goes to the head right there, and then one goes to the body right under there. And that's it. Brand new TJ battery cables. Great. Well, party people, it wasn't easy. Well, I mean, it was easy, but it's kind of necessary. You really do want to take care of your batteries. Make sure that you're not running with really cruddy, stiff old battery cables. There's also companies that sell the kit. I think it's probably $180 for this here TJ to like do a factory replacement, and I probably have $45 into it and all that cable left over. So it's really up to you how you want to go about it, but definitely pay attention to your electrical system. I can already tell it's much happier than it was with the prior setup. Even this lamp is stronger, or maybe my memory is just fooling me, but seems better. I'm happy with this. It's safer. I feel better about it. I'm teaching my 12-year-old daughter how to drive right now, so I want the car to be reliable and work properly. Teach them on a stick. Greatest gift you can give a child. See you next time on Matt's Garage. You want to hear something cool? Let's see if you can hear it. Hear that? Coyotes, man. They go crazy from time to time.